And this is really slippery here. Wow. Gonna really take it easy in this spot here and talk about what took place right there where that stone is located. And this is our entry point to the Knox Mine Disaster site. We're gonna safely cross over the rails here. Now, one fact that some people don't realize is downriver, not too far, one of the hopper cars is down there. Finally, some riding weather is here. I didn't think that snow was ever gonna melt, but since it did, I want to take advantage of the opportunity because even though it's January, it's still technically winter, but it's also the anniversary month of the Knox Mine Disaster site, which is located just down there. And in order to get there faster, we're gonna be riding the TST R002 Ebike. We'll talk more about this later, but right now, let's get moving. Well, even though the snow is melted, it's not completely gone, especially here on the trail. It's covered in ice, and I could stand here and do a burnout if I want to. It does beat walking. We're gonna take it slow and steady. I'm using the thumb throttle mostly just to keep control and a steady pace. Won't be able to open it up right here, but it's gonna definitely save us some time from getting back to our location, which is just back there. And I wanna tell you briefly just a few things before we do arrive on site, because right now we're here in January 2026, but history is taking us back to January 22nd, 1959. On that date, miners were mining for coal underneath this river right here, the Susquehanna River. And they were doing so because they were following the vein of coal. And they were able to do so safely because they tested the thickness of the bottom of the riverbed to where the vein of coal was with boreholes. And they said there was at least 50 feet of thickness, which was sufficient and safe conditions, especially if they were to leave columns or pillars for supports. Well, like many mine company owners, they get greedy. They want to make the most profit as possible with spending as little money as possible. So when the coal they mined out was extracted, they told the miners to keep following, chasing the vein of coal. And the problem with that is that, well, they were going into untested territory. There was no boreholes drilled telling them how thick the earth was between the riverbed and the mine workings. So they were just following the vein of coal, doing what they were told to do. And it got so close to the riverbed that they claimed to hear water rushing above them. And not long after, catastrophe struck. The riverbed broke through, flooding out the mines and the miners, taking the lives of 12 miners. And this is really slippery here. Wow. Gonna really take it easy in this spot here. And they found out that when that riverbed broke through, there was less than 10 feet of thickness between the riverbed and where they were working. And who's to blame? The mine owners, because they told the miners to do that, knowing it wasn't tested about how safe it would be. Now, once we do arrive on site, I will tell you some more details about how they attempted to plug up the hole and what they found afterwards. But more importantly, one individual who was able to escape that disaster and notify rescuers of what happened. So it is a bit bumpier, but it's a bit safer over here. So this is gonna be my route until we get past this ice. Well, we're not on location yet, but we are approaching it. But we are at a location that did play a major part in the Knox Mine Disaster site. So we're gonna come back to this and talk about what took place right there where that stone is located. Right along this big rock face, trail closes in. We have a gate here, and this is our entry point to the Knox Mine Disaster site. We're gonna safely cross over the rails here. This has been cleaned up nicely. And here we are. We have a marker memorial site because right there, this earth wasn't here. This was the river itself, and it's where it broke through. Now, before we talk more details about what took place here, especially how they tried to plug it up and one individual who basically saved the lives of others, well, let's learn more about how he got here first. So what saved me from walking through ice, mud, and saved a heck of a lot of time is the TST R002, a small but really fun e-bike to ride. And it's not only on the smaller side, it's also on the lighter side. So it weighs in at 71 pounds, not that heavy at all. And although it's not foldable, it's not that hard to lift up into a bike rack or a bed of a truck if you want to transport it. But for how small it is, it has a mega payload capacity of 450 pounds. This bike actually comes in two versions or two models. There's the Cruiser Edition and Adventure Edition. The difference is battery size. The Cruiser Edition has a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery, which they advertise an estimated range of around 65 miles. Realistically, you're looking around 40, 45 miles. This one is the Adventure Edition. This has a 48 volt, 25 amp hour battery, 10 amp hours more. They advertise up to 100 miles of range. Realistically, you're probably looking around 60 to 70 miles of range. Now, the range they advertise does come with optimal conditions with a lightweight rider. Range for you may vary depending on your size, terrain, and pedal assist use. Now, I do consider this an adventure/action bike because it's smaller, easy to handle, can fit in tighter, smaller spaces, but it's got a great power to weight ratio. For only weighing 71 pounds, the battery powers a rear 1500 watt hub motor. So you have plenty of power, plenty of torque to handle a lot of adventure or action needs. Now you may notice it has not only front, but rear suspension, which is kind of stiff. You can actually adjust the stiffness on it, but full suspension e-bike. Now this does ride on 20 by 4 inch wide fat tires, and it has hard spoke wheels. These wheels are fantastic. They're gonna hold up so much better than a traditional wire wheel. Another great thing they did is mount the battery top side. It's easy to get in and out, but it's also protecting the battery if anything was to kick up while you're riding. Now for speed, I did find a discrepancy with what they advertised. They advertised this bike to go 32 miles an hour. I was not able to achieve that. I was able to go 28 miles an hour. Now 28 is pretty typical or common with class 3 e-bikes, so 28 is perfectly acceptable or suitable, but it doesn't do 32 like they advertised. There are a few more things to check out though, so come on over. You have nice comfortable grips, stopping power, front and rear hydraulic disc brakes. Left side is your thumb throttle, 4-button control module, your display, which is almost identical to the ones on the Huffscope bikes. Right side is your 7-speed Shimano system. To power it on, just gonna long press the power button right there. The screen does boot up. And it may look like it's flickering or pulsating on camera. It's not doing that in person, it's just the frame rate of the camera. But you do have your battery bar indicator right there. Pedal assist 0, which is no power, goes all the way up to 5 for max power. Miles per hour and trip, and if you press the power button, you can toggle between trip and odometer. Top right is your dedicated headlight button, shows nice and bright. And you do have arrows here for your plus and minus. Those are turn signal indicators. So if you do quick double press your turn signal button, you have an indicator blinking on the screen, and your integrated tail light, brake light does have built-in turn signals as well. Kicking up the pedal assist 5, just gonna do throttle just to show you. It does go up to 28 miles an hour. Now the handlebar height is not adjustable, but the reach is. So you could angle the handlebars farther away or closer depending on your comfort level. Coming down below the headlight, we do have our front fender, 20 by 4 inch fat tire, and our hard spoke wheels. Opposite side, you will find your front hydraulic disc brakes as well. There's the key slot for the battery if you want to remove it and just take the battery to the charger, or you can also charge the battery while it's on the bike. Down in between, you will find your battery indicator light. Press that. Shows you how much juice the battery currently has. Right here is your charging port and your on-off toggle switch. Just above the rear suspension, you find your massive, and I say massive, it is massive, saddle. A lot of room on here, and nice and soft and plush. So one of the best seats I've come across on an e-bike. And I would give that a 4.5 out of 5 rating. Now, this seat height is not adjustable. It's advertised as one size fits most. Now 6'4" is a bit of a stretch. I'm 5'11", I do fit on it comfortably, but if you are taller than me, you're definitely gonna feel oversized on this bike. Now behind the seat, you do have a small surface to mount something, whether it be a case or a little pack or something like that, or even if you wanna mount the camera for some first-person view action. But you do have some landscape here, but it also works great as a handle for picking the bike up. But below that, and above the rear fender, you will have a little license plate mount right there, and your integrated tail light system. So it operates as a tail light, brake light, and turn signals. Now there are a few pros and cons I have come up with about this bike. I'll talk to you about those later. Right now, let's talk more history about the Knox Mine Disaster site. So right here is the memorial site placard. And it's really well done. We got the flags here. There's a spike right here, surrounded by coal. And it says Knox Mine Disaster occurred on this spot January 22nd, 1959, and 12 miners lost their lives. Now, some of you may be wondering, including myself, when I first learned about this site, is how did the miners breach underneath the river if the river is all the way over there and this is land? Well, back in the day, this wasn't land. The river was much wider and came up much closer to the tracks. So the river itself ran through here. This was made like this after the disaster. Now, once officials learned about what took place here, they knew they needed to plug up the hole to stop the water from rushing into the mine and causing even more havoc and spreading out through other mines in the area. Well, what could they do? What did they have at their disposal? The one thing they had right next to the river was the train tracks, the same ones that we rode along the entire way here. Now, when that hole formed, it formed a big whirlpool, water just spiraling, funneling right down to the mines. With the tracks being as close as they were, they cut the tracks, angled them towards the hole, and basically shoved well over a few dozen coal cars and hopper cars, gondola cars, and even mine cars into the whirlpool in attempts to plug it up. On top of that, they dumped in rock, stone, timbers, anything that they had that they could quickly get here to help plug up that hole to stop the water from going in. So it's been documented with footage and photos that rail cars coming out the line, just dropping right into the hole, spinning around in the whirlpool, getting sucked down into the breach, into the mines. Now, one fact that some people don't realize is downriver, not too far, on the same side of the river that we're on now, one of the hopper cars is down there. It didn't go into the whirlpool. The river washed it down and ended up further downstream. And on low river levels, you can actually get to it and climb on it. I documented it, checked it out myself. It's really rusted, really bad condition, but it is still there. And it's from back from 1959 in an attempt to plug up that hole. Now, when you do come to the site, you may smell what I smell today. That is sulfur and rotten eggs. That's because down here along the river's edge, everything's stained orange. It's acid mine drainage. The same mine disaster site that's flooded today is spewing out AMD. If you come here during low river levels, you can see little tiny springs and areas where water is coming up from beneath the surface, and that's AMD coming from beneath the mines, staining everything orange, giving off that putrid, rotten egg smell. So after several days of shoving anything and everything into the hole, it eventually got plugged up. They then knew they had to get down there to see if they could rescue anyone. So what did they do? How could they do it with it being flooded? There's people boating down the river. Well, they had to get the water out of there. Now, the only way they could get the water out is by creating a coffer dam. A coffer dam is a man-made dam system that connects end to end, like a circle or an oval, or sometimes even a square. But that continuous connection provides safety and control over the inside of it. So once that dam was completed, no more water could come into the site. They could pump out the river water, pump out the water out of the mines. Once they did that, they shored up any dangerous areas, physically went down there looking for those 12 men that were unaccounted for, and they never found them. Those men, as well as all the equipment and everything they shoved down there, is permanently entombed beneath us as we speak. Now, where those 12 miners' bodies went to, God only knows. They could have gotten washed away thousands of feet away. They could have been buried by equipment or material. But when they didn't find them, they knew they needed to seal this hole off. So they capped it with concrete and put all this earth here today. But the hole would be straight down at river level. But today, it's not only a memorial site, but also a grave site to those 12 men that lost their lives. I'll say farewell to the 12 miners. Head back to the trail and head back to our first site. Well, here we are, the location of the Eagle Air Shaft, which was an escape shaft for 33 men. But one brave individual climbed up this and saved those 33 men. Now you may remember when we wrote up this earlier, I said this played a big part in that disaster, but in a positive way. Now I'm not sure if the location was right here where the stone is or further back between those yellow markers. But when that accident or disaster happened, the water started coming into the mines. No one knew that was happening. It was happening beneath the surface. It wasn't until that whirlpool started that there was any visible signs above the surface. Well, when water is flowing down into a hole that's all mined out like a honeycomb, well, it's going to go anywhere and everywhere. There's not a whole lot of places you could go for safety. But the miners working were fairly knowledgeable of their workings and their surroundings. They knew where passages and areas went. One individual by the name of Amedeo Pancati came over here underground to what is known as the Eagle Air Shaft. And it was a non-active air shaft, basically no longer used but still existed with connections underground. He made his way over here and climbed 50 feet vertically, which was dangerous in itself, but he made it out and he was able to alert officials of what took place. Not only that, he was able to get 33 additional men out of this air shaft that survived as well. Now he knew time was of the essence because every second that passed, thousands upon thousands of gallons of water were filling into that mine. And they said when it's all said and done, it's an estimated 10 million gallons of water filled that mine up. Well, it's not the greatest riding conditions, but this definitely saved me a buttload of time. And saved me from having to potentially fall on the ice and get all muddy as well. But with this being a smaller bike, it's honestly really comfortable to ride. It's a comfortable neutral seating position. Even with the fixed seat height and fixed handlebar height, it is accurate that one size fits most. So I think between 5'2" and 6 foot is going to be the sweet spot for this bike. Now, even though it's a thumb throttle compared to a twist throttle, it's still doing the job. I'm really able to control my speed to go as slow or as fast as I want, and the throttle output is proportionate to the pedal assist. So if I put it down in pedal assist 1 and give it full throttle, it's only going to go as fast as pedal assist 1 allows me to go, which is around 8-9 miles an hour. If I want to go faster or top speed, you just want to increase the pedal assist. This also operates with a cadence sensor compared to a torque sensor. So with a cadence sensor, basically, as soon as you start pedaling, it's going to recognize the pedals are moving and it gives you instant output from the motor based on which pedal assist you're in. So there's pros and cons to that, but this is what it does operate on. But this is definitely a fun bike to operate with just the throttle. Can actually open up here a little bit. Yeah, accelerates pretty quickly. Boy, what an absolutely gorgeous day out. Fantastic riding weather. Definitely can't wait to start riding regularly again. So a couple things I want to finish up about the bike, and that's the pros and cons. The first con is what I've been saying time and time again on all the other e-bikes that don't have it, and that is the lack of a USB charging port. I know this display doesn't have one because this display is on other e-bikes. It doesn't have one built in, and the control module doesn't have one either. So I'll keep saying it. All e-bike companies out there, please incorporate a USB charging port. Those of us who get these bikes, who like to do longer rides, want to be able to charge our phone as we're riding. So USB charging port, I'd love to see it on this bike. The second one is more of a safety feature than anything else. There's no horn or bell on this bike, which to me is a cause for concern because it has turn signals, which are for safety. It lets people know where you're going, what you're doing. But you can't alert others that you're approaching other than audibly yelling on your left, on your right, approaching. So I will put a link down below for a cheap mechanical bell on Amazon, which will take care of that problem. For the pros though, the two that stand out to me, number one is the aggressive styling. It's a great looking bike, stands out from others, but it's not questionable as to what this is. It's clearly an e-bike, operates as one, but it is an aggressive, action-ready e-bike. The other thing is the power to weight ratio. Weighing in at only 71 pounds and having a 1500 watt motor, you're gonna have ample power for getting up to speed quickly, climbing a lot of hills and doing a lot of action adventure activities, if you want to say so, because this is the adventure model after all. Also, if you don't like the black color, it does come available in white and orange as well. And lastly, there is a price difference between the cruiser model and adventure model, obviously because of the battery size. So check the link down below for more details and the latest pricing on both bikes. But I do want to thank TST for reaching out to me and allowing me to share this bike with all of you. I hope you enjoyed coming along for a quick ride and to see a revisit of the Knox Mine Disaster site. We're just days away from the anniversary of January 22nd, and although the trail was icy, we got there safely and efficiently, all thanks to this. So thanks for watching, safe riding, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video. I'm gonna go do some more riding. Oh yeah, it's torquey.